The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
On this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr., we welcome back Brandon Bohn, who's bringing his coach along from Weber International, former PBA champion, Del Warren. Del is a two-time PBA national champion, a 10-time PBA regional champion. He's also the coach of the three-time NAIA national championship men's team and the three-time ITC national championship men's team as well. He is the vice president of Kegel Training Center in Florida. He formerly served as president of Track International. He designed many bowling balls for AMF. He is also an acclaimed USBC Gold Level bowling coach. We can't wait to have Brandon back and get Del on the show to talk about his career as well. Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. starts now.
This is PBA champion Kyle Troop.
Hey y'all, Jacob Wetrup here.
Hey guys, Chuck Ritchie here, formerly of Bowl TV.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Schaefer of track staff at Valley Bowling Center in Waverly, New York.
And you're listening to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Yo, the boys from Straight Up 5, Rad Rob, Dr. Ocho, and of course JP Jr.
As you know, JP Jr. used to be introduced as the sexiest man in bowling and now the world. But he doesn't have the best hair in the world. I do. Sorry, bud, but you know the deal. Pick it out. Fear the fro, baby.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. A hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the world of bowling. This podcast will not only cover all things bowling, but will also give you a raw look into real-life issues. You'll get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this or any other generation.
Strike, and they claim it. Somebody does it!
So without further ado, let's introduce you to the hosts of the show. Rad Rob Francois. Rad Rob Francois. Dr. Ocho. And the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr. Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. I am your host, Rad Rob Francois. Which I've been indulging in too much lately. Been out of work for almost 3 months, and the waistline's starting to show it. And the pocketbook, too. Popeyes is not cheap. I'm telling you. In any event, this is episode number 173. We have two very special guests tonight. One is a return guest from last week. The other is his coach from Weber International, the vice president of Kegel. We're looking forward to having Del Warren on here. But before we do, I do want to say that Dr. Ocho has a house emergency that he's dealing with. He may or may not be here, but that's fine. Dr. Interrupto he won't be able to interrupt anybody. So, I mean, that's actually a good thing, right? Let's see who's in the chat here. Holy cow, the chat is lit up. Good evening, everybody. Billy M, what's going on? Justin DiBianca, hello. Nico Pujar, our resident statistician and reporter. I do. We love Kyle Troop. Henry Ross is here. Good evening, Henry. Good to see you. Dawn Warren. Oh, hello. Hello, Dawn. Thanks for tuning in to see Del and Brandon and us. Billy M, another I do. We will take all requests for I do's. Philly cheesesteak. Damn it, I just had dinner too. That sounds good though. Crambones in the house. Jules Stone is back once again. Hello, Jules. Bohn Legacy is in the house. That's absolutely right. Carl Buckley is here. Good evening, gents. Have a great show this evening. We appreciate that. See you tomorrow, JP. I'm jealous. I wish I could see JP tomorrow. Dave Wolven's in the house. What's up? What's up? Pete Cow's here. What's going on, man? Alex Bermudez, our favorite pro shop operator from Modesto, California. Bear is here. Holy shit. We haven't had a bear sighting in a couple months, man. What's going on? Good to see you. Hey, Fuckface Barone's here. What's up, brother? Good to see you. I'm Art to see you. I'm fired up tonight. What up, Chuck? Hold on. Chuck. There we go. Hey, Chuck. Cousin Cinco. What's up, brother? Who else we got here? Man, everybody is fired up tonight. Dr. Interrupto may not be here. Oh my God, I'm such a big fan of. Don't know. Your channel. Thanks. I love my channel too. Don's here. Henry Ross, what's going on? Michael Hanlon. What's up? Let's see. You changed hats from the intro. Fun fact, I recorded the intro like an hour or two ago. So just a little inside tip there. Jay Pentis is here. What's up? Happy Wednesday, Rad Rob. We all know why I'm here. What makes the Rad and Rad Rob? Well, I don't know. I've still been trying to answer that. Since Ocho is not here, let's introduce the host with the most, number 7 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, the sexiest man in the world, Mr. Johnny Petraglia Jr. What up, JP?
As always, an absolute pleasure to be here, and stunned at the amount of people already rolling in. Actually, not really stunned with the star-studded cast that we have tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But it's obviously great to see everybody, and you as well, Rad Rob.
Well, I appreciate that, man. You were looking dapper as always.
Well, thank you very much. I've been working hard over at the marina, getting a lot of steps in, a lot of lifting of the cinder blocks. I'm starting to slim down again, and maybe it's time to hit the gym again soon. But in the meantime, we'll see. It's nice to have a tan in late October in New Jersey. So
no, that's true. It is. The weather's been very weird this year. Cheeks is here. What up, Cheeks?
Haven't seen Deanna in a while either.
I know. Good to see her as well. So we already. Look at that, Rad Rob. You are cute. Thanks, Henry. 2025. It's fine.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
I'll take any compliment. Completely. So we've already had Brandon with the video. But I got a video for Dell this time. So you ready, Johnny, to watch it?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go. Here's a look at the highlights of Del Warren.
A congratulatory smile a bit earlier to Del Warren, and then the handshake, and it's a 218 for the tournament leader. Tough to bowl 218 and lose, but the whirlwind from Lake Worth, Florida, like Randy Peterson of Santa Maria, California, last week, the AC Delco Classic, first-time winner.
If he strikes out, he'll average almost 250. Oh.
4-7. Very much liked by the spectators here, a capacity crowd at Gable House in Torrance. We'll be back. Well, that face on the left reflecting a spectacular performance. Del Warren of Lake Worth, Florida, the check of $18,000, the trophy from Mickey Kogan. His last game score, 256 to 218 with a 245 average in 4 games. First-time winner. Coming up next, ABC's Wide World of Sports from Kitzbühel, Hahnenkamm, downhill.
They're just youngsters out here, Mike. Well, Voss started with 2 strikes on the right lane. 10-pin, 2-pin, so he's 2 for 4. Needs to get 2 more right now. Brian Voss has bowled out of the top seed position 5 times in his career and has yet to win. Told me he would like to end the streak here this evening. Well, he's got to take them one at a time. Gives it room. Here it comes. And he can't. Oh, boy, is that perfect. Woo! Well, I have to applaud to that shot. That's as good a pressure shot. Look at that. It's nail-biting time. If you don't think it's not a tough way to go to win a PBA title out here, you're crazy. And I tell you, this Warren, as he puts his head down, when you're in that situation, somehow you dread the feeling you know your opponent's going to strike somehow. Voss collecting his thoughts, getting him act together, so to speak, trying to think of how he threw that last shot and just repeat it again this time. Brian Voss out of Tacoma, Washington, trying to keep the title hopes alive. For the win, for the win! Oh! Firpo and Warren win as he leaves the solid 10. Couldn't have thrown it any better. Two tremendous performances by both players. Somebody had to win and somebody had to lose. And this time, Firpo and Warren win.
Boy, that was as good a match as we've ever had. The high fives coming in large quantities now between Warren and Firpo. So the youngsters from Lake Worth, Florida will tote $28,000 back down south in a pair of beautiful trophies as they capture the Showboat PBA Pebbles Classic 214 to 207.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Brandon Bohn and first-time guest, the one and only Del Warren. Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for being here, brothers.
Wow. Thanks for having us, guys. That was quite an intro. I haven't seen that in a long time.
I love you just hiding your face during the doubles and Voss is up.
Well, I told Del the only thing that was different was he had a little bit more hair on his head.
Oh, that's
looks
rough.
the same.
That's rough.
Yeah, well, it was so funny as I bowled so good in that tournament. I led the field by 5 pins, and Joe pretty much struggled. He was problems with approaches, and then I forced him to go and buy a new pair of shoes into the Showboat Pro Shop, if you remember that. And he bowled awesome on television, and he stoned 8, the second one in the 10th. And Voss hadn't missed on that lane, and so you saw what happened. He went dead flush, and. So yeah, I haven't seen that in probably 25 years. So
good. I'm glad we could bring back.
That was cool. That was cool.
Speaking of haven't seen something or someone in a long time, before we came on the air, Del, you and I were talking about the last time you and I possibly even saw each other or spoke. And while I was taking my break during the intro, this is crazy that I remember this, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it must have been early on in my dad's senior tour career, or maybe it was just a standard PBA regional, but there was a tournament. I want to say the name of the bowling alley was Colonial Lanes. It was just somewhere in Pennsylvania. The bowling alley was owned by the Piquel family. And the only reason I know that is the mother, her license plate was Pick 5 because they had 5 children. And it was around the time that AMF had come out with, I believe, the Fusion and the Cold Fusion.
Yeah, so, they put an ad on. I remember that ball because they put an ad on. It was the picture was I'm like this, and the 2 balls are sitting in my hands. And that was back in the day where you didn't have all this fancy stuff you could do on your phone and your computer. We actually had to go to a studio, and I had to imagine I had these 2 balls spinning up in the air. But Colonial Lanes was in York, PA.
There we go.
And it was actually at a trade show.
Okay.
They actually had a tournament, and all the ball manufacturers were there. And it was Bowler Supply's trade show, and they had a big tournament. There was a lot of gambling going on in the back, and I believe I actually bowled. I think it was Bob Learn was a staff member, and they wanted me to play as well. Now I hadn't. I wasn't long after the tour, but I still bowled in leagues, and I bowled team challenge tournaments. If you guys remember that
Yep.
was an awesome event.
Absolutely.
And so, so I bowled and actually won the tournament. and beat Walter Ray. You know, it was on a house shot. So, you know,
Yes, let's go.
you know, and I think he shot 250 and I shot 260 or something like that. And there was so much gambling going on in the back because of course, there was a lot of fans there, but every bowling ball manufacturer and every manufacturer had a staff member there. And it was like a staff member tournament, but it was really a free for all in the back. Everybody was throwing cash around, you know. And of course, I'm the big underdog because I've been off the tour for 5 or 6 years. And so they just walled them up, you know, and I'm just throwing my little knucklers up 10. But it's Colonial Lanes in York.
And it's crazy that I remember that. Actually, it's one of those moments that just stands out in time in my brain.
Yeah, and your dad was there bowling in the tournament as well for Brunswick.
Yes. How time flies. And I was approximately 25 years ago or so, because I would just have actually checked the release date of the Fusion, and I think my dad at that event was throwing like the Parker Bohn, of all people, the Parker Bohn MVP.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right around that era. So it's crazy how the brain works sometimes. Rob,
he wasn't even born yet.
I wasn't even thought about.
You weren't even a thought in the minds yet.
Not at all.
Rob, I have a quick question here for Dell, and I don't want to lose it. And you know my brain.
Oh yeah, I absolutely understand. Get it out.
Dell, of your storied career, both bowling and coaching, do you have a preference, or do you love both equally? What do you love more about the sport of bowling that's given back to you? But if you really had to toss them both up in the air.
You know, it's interesting. Dr. Dean actually asked me a similar question a few years ago. I was fortunate to grow up in a little bowling center in Lantana, Florida, Lantana Lane, 16 lanes. And I grew up with a group of people, you know, Chuck Gardner. I grew up with Chuck. Chuck and I are best friends. He's from the same place. Joe Firpo, same bowling center. Jimmy Keith, same bowling center. Tammy Turner, Palm Beach County. This is all from Palm Beach County Bowling and predominantly one center. Came out of this youth league in this little 16-lane center. So as a kid, now ironically, a week ago, Chartrand and I went over and spent the day with Bo Burton.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up watching Bo and Chris Schenkel and dreaming about bowling on tour. And it was, as a kid, and I got to do that for a period of time. And I, you know, my career got derailed because of a bad back. And I had back problems, and and then you're kind of bowling. Having a bad back and being a bowler is not a great combination. And I just really couldn't play at that level anymore. So I would tell you back then, my life would have been defined by that. I would have never thought that I would have had a career like I've had after bowling and got a chance to do all the things I have. But I will tell you that, and I know my wife's watching, Weber changed our lives. I mean, Kegel, I really thought my last job I was ever going to have was being president of track at Columbia 300 when the Herman family owned it. And they ended up selling, as you guys know, to Ebonite, right? So Dawn was not moving to Hopkinsville, Kentucky. I can tell you, you know, she's a Queens girl. There's no way she's moving to Hoptown. So, you know, I was very fortunate. I was friends with John, and I was friends with Chartrand. He's from our hometown. Dennis Shears is from my hometown. And, you know, it's just been, it'll be 20 years in a year. It'll be my 19th year, December 1st here at Kegel. But it's such a cool company to work for. But the Weber thing just kind of snuck up on us. We happened to be at the right place at the right time. And I got to do it with two of my best friends, which is, you know, Randy Stoughton and Ruben Gargosian, along with Rick and of course the Kegel company. Dawn and I elected to not have children, and it's become as close as we can be parents to these kids. And so, but it also gave Randy and I an outlet of competing. And so I love to compete, and I thought PBA was going to be NLBL. I will tell you, if I could take a step back and go, you only get to experience one or the other. I got to experience both, you know, winning on the tour, being a PBA, you know, member, being a touring player back in the day, and, you know, got to bowl, you know, against your dad and with your dad. And I'll tell you a story about your dad during the telecast. That's one of my key moments of my life that your dad said, and my wife was there when he said it.
Really?
She's a witness. But I will tell you that being a part of Kegel and college bowling, I would take that over winning on tour all day long. That's now my favorite PBA title is winning with Joe Firpo. I mean, can you imagine growing up in the same youth leagues in the same hometown and going out and winning the doubles title on tour? That's my favorite, for sure. But Weber's had, this is our 18th year. I've experienced every up and down, every elation, every sorrow, every frustration. We lost Andros and Manette, the first kid I ever fell in love with. He was like my stepson, and he died of cancer a couple of years ago at 33.
I remember.
We've gone to weddings, we've gone to funerals, we've gone to kids being born. So it's really been something that snuck up on us. And I will tell you that our program has had an impact in college bowling and in bowling, with what our kids are doing now. Some of them are coaches, and they're great coaches, like, Katie Thornton and Haley Beavis at Tulane. So that's kind of the long way to answer you, but it's, I never saw this coming, to be honest with you. So, I get to hang out with him every day.
I do sometimes too, and it's marvelous, but I kind of expected you to give an answer like that just based off of your personality.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the way you spoke about having no children and now having like the biggest family there is in all these different walks of all the training, especially now being, VP of the Kegel Training Center. You've got to be just, they got to be coming left and right at you every single day, all the time now. And
it's a lot of fun, bro. It really is. It can be frustrating. They're college kids. Kind of what keeps me centered is, I had a really strict dad, and I was, just totally in love with my mother. My mother was an angel, but, I came up at a time where there was punishments if you screwed up, and I didn't want to do anything bad to jeopardize my opportunity to bowl on tour. I literally lived my dream to get a chance to play on tour. And, I bowled my first tournament in '79 when Roth was God and Earl was God, and I bowled against Dick Weber in match play, bro. That's how old I am. So I got to bowl against some legends, man, and I just thought nothing would ever top that. But Weber has had a much deeper meaning in our lives than I ever thought, And I got a high school education, man. I'm on the faculty of a college. And they asked me for my advice, which is crazy. So,
Very
yeah. So, it's been I just pinch myself, dude. I've been so blessed to be able to do some pretty cool stuff. And, and I get to continue to be here. We're at the Walker Room here at Kegel and talking to you guys today, and a lot of really cool stuff that you don't see, but with Lenny Nicholson. We all know who he is, and a lot of John Davis stuff here. And I get to come to work here every day, so I don't have too many bad days.
That's awesome, man. Brandon, as far as the relationship, the coaching aspect, obviously you've learned so much from everybody, and obviously you're a Bohn. What's the biggest things that Dell has done for you in your journey to where you are today?
I feel like one of the biggest things when I first got here, I knew Dell had always known how to win. And it was probably back 2018, 2019, where I really knew like this was the place I wanted to be. And I always, thought the Kegel Training Center was like one of the coolest places on earth. But I didn't really know how like it would impact my game. But I always had this relationship with Matt Russo. And Matt came here, and me and him, like, we've had a brotherhood that could stand for many, many years down the road. And when I saw him, strike out in the 10th, I was watching Bowl TV, and when I saw him strike out in the 10th, and I saw like something, and I was like, that's where I want to be. And so things didn't work out very much. And my sophomore year, I transferred here, and one of the first things I told Dell was, I came here because I knew you know how to win. I want to win. I don't really care what it takes. I just want to win, and I know you know how to win. And when we won the national championship in 24, I looked at him and I said, we did it. This is exactly what we came here to do, was to win the national championship. And we said it at the beginning of the year, and then we said it at the end of the year. But I feel like this year we've had more time to really get to dive into my game. And, I've really enjoyed the past few weeks. I feel like I've been pushed more. And, I'm really starting to learn a little bit more techniques with ball roll and stuff. And if you know me, I'm not very technical at all. I like to keep it very simple. And he's definitely taught me a few things about my own game. And, it's been fun.
Yeah, we covered that last week, that you have no idea what your specs are or your pad.
No idea.
I thought he was kidding me at first, as I was I'm tiptoeing around him a little bit when he got here, out of pure respect for his dad, and him. And so the hardest thing for a coach, guys, is not the everyday lessons I get, because I give a little more lessons now than I've ever given in the training center. And I'm on the deck with just regular folks that want to get better. And I love it. I still love it today. And that's really easy, because, they just need a little bit of fundamental. Sometimes they just need a concept change. Here you got a guy that's been successful at every level, and, he wants to bowl on tour. And so that's tricky for a coach. When you're dealing with an elite athlete, he's already great. How do you make him better without screwing him up? And
I was actually going to ask you that question.
Yeah,
how do you make them better without screwing them up? Now, I study a lot. My passion is golf. And I tell you what I've learned a lot from is studying the greatest golf instructors in the world, like Butch Harmon and Claude Harmon III. And they talk a lot about this. Like, the hardest lesson to give is somebody comes to you and they're already great and they got an awesome resume. And how do you not screw them up? And you can't take away the things that they do well. And the things that he does well is he just bowls.
Yes.
Right. And he doesn't think about a lot. He sees what he needs to do and he goes and does it. And now he's getting ready to, we've got a set of goals this year for him that we agreed to. And I'm also trying to teach him some other things on leadership and also some skills, more importantly, to set him up for the tour. And so what will work in college is not going to work against other people. And one of the things that I've said to him, I go, the great thing is you've got this unbelievable talent, right? You can't, regular people can't have 500 RPMs, right? And have the talent to control that on the lane. You're either born with that or you're not. You can't teach that. So, however, for the first time in his life, when he goes on tour, he has no talent advantage against the top 25, top 30 in the world. Zero. And so he's going to have to do some things out of character for him in order to play at that level. And as I've told him, if you look at the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball, because you were great at the level below that doesn't always translate to success to the next level. So I've been very careful with Brandon, and I thought we had a breakthrough. I've never told him this, but he reached out to me a couple months ago on a Sunday. He knows I play golf on Sunday. That's like holy ground for me.
How dare you?
He goes, hey, listen, I know you're playing golf, but I really want to work with you. And
freaking kids, man, I'm telling you.
And so it's really been the phone call I've been waiting for. And he reached out to me and he said, can you come and work with me this Sunday? I really want to work on some of the things you're talking about. And I'm like, I'll be there for you, dude. No worries. I'll go out and hit balls in the morning. I'm not giving it up, but I'll go out and hit balls in the morning. I'll meet you in the afternoon. And we had a great session. He brought one of his teammates with him, Kevin. And we had a solid 2 hour and 15-minute day that was very focused and very defined. And because he's not a technical guy, I have to be really good at delivering something simple, because that's what he understands. And he doesn't want to overthink anything. So it sounds like my job would be easier, and it's not, because I have a very technical mind, because I ask why all the time. That's just kind of how I'm wired. So to me, that was the call that I was waiting for. And there's just a couple of little simple things that he's never thought of before that's really going to help him not only the rest of the year, because the patterns are changing in college bowling. Patterns are changing completely. And his ball is not seeing the window like it's done in the past. And for the average person, they wouldn't be able to pull it off. But for him, he has command of his body. So if I keep the concept simple and say, this is what I need you to do, he'll do it the first time.
It feels like the first time all the time. But then the second shot is the second shot.
So this is how funny we are, because I told my wife, I said, you know what, maybe I don't go to the training center and I'll just do it remotely. She says, you guys have to be together because you're hysterical together. Right? He and I have a good time. So I'm showing him this pattern that he's kind of struggling with. And I said, here's all I want you to do. I want you to throw a little bit firmer, a little bit less rev rate, kind of keep it in front of you. And I'm showing him on the graph, and you can see it on the graph. I'm like, here's where the hold is. Here's where the thing is. We don't want to get it past here. And he says to me, he goes, look, just tell me what you want me to hit and where you want me to throw it.
Like his dad.
Laughing. And it's like, I'm being simple. Can't you see the damn picture? And he goes, look, he finally just stopped me. He goes, just tell me where you want me to throw it. Like, what do you want me to look at? Where do you want me to throw it?
That's so good.
He went like this. He went pack, pack, pack. Now, I hate it when he's right, and he hates it when I'm right. And I look at him, I go, see? And he goes, and I won't tell you what he said.
Yeah. We bowled a quick story real quick. So we bowled this past weekend in Atlanta, tournament number 2 and number 3, and we had both of the patterns. Well, we practiced at Kegel. There was a Saturday pattern and a Sunday pattern. Well, what we were told, the Saturday pattern I was going to throw urethane, and the Sunday pattern I was going to throw reactive. Well, the second part does not rarely ever happen anymore in college. And I just got done telling him, hey, like, I would rather throw reactive than urethane. And so we're practicing, and we get to Saturday, and accidentally they put out the Sunday pattern.
Oops.
And from what we were told, there was a 40-foot and a 43-foot. The 43-foot was going to go out on Sunday, and the 40-foot was going to go out on Saturday. Well, we had them flipped. So I'm practicing, and you get 15 minutes, but you got 8 on your lane, so you're really only getting 2 or 3 shots on a lane. And I mean, I could throw it left, I could throw it up the lane, and they all struck. And I'm throwing urethane, and the first shot misses the head pin. The second shot goes Grid Church. The third shot buckets, and he goes, dude, you got to change balls. I'm like, there's no way. Like, I just gotta square up to it. It's gonna be fine. He goes, no, I want you to throw reactive. And I was like, you want me to do what? I'm gonna do what now? And he goes, dude, do you not see your ball reaction? I'm like, I'm telling you, I bowled on this pattern plenty of times. Can I just throw urethane? And I asked him if I could throw my other urethane ball. And I threw it one shot, and I got 6. and so I'm like, all right, I'll throw reactive. And so I ended up getting pulled out of that game, and I bowled 150. And I go into reactive, and they put me in somehow game 2. And Charles goes, well, you're going to have to throw reactive. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. So the next game I bowled 279.
Of course.
So I had 150 with urethane, and then I had 279 with reactive. And I went over to him, and I'm like, damn, like, I hate it when you're right. But you're right. And I ended up finishing like 130 over with 150 the first game for 6 games. I ended up, leading. And I told him, I said, maybe you do know what you're talking about. Maybe once or twice. So,
but I mean, isn't that a technicality because you didn't know the pattern was flipped? So, I mean, was he really right? I mean,
listen to me. Listen, when you throw the first one and it's not perfect and you get 6, and then you make a move and you throw it pretty good and you get 6 on the other side, you cannot throw that ball and be in that same zone.
That's fair.
Just saying.
That's fair.
But here's what he's not telling you. I called a huddle about the 5th frame of the first game, and I go, guys, I think they flipped the pattern. Now we're bowling in a corporate bowling center.
Yeah.
And the mechanic was angry about having to come in on a Saturday. So what are the odds that he hit the wrong button? Probably that could happen, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I go to the tournament director and I go, you need to check. I think they put out Sunday's pattern on Saturday. Right? You know what happened? Charles, my assistant coach, Mr. Love him to death Bostic, he gave the information to me and gave the information to the team flipped. It was our fault. It wasn't their fault. Because I'm telling him, I'm going, dude, this pattern is reacting like the other pattern.
And I'm like, dude,
he goes, you don't know what you're talking about. And I said, dude, I'm telling you, this is the other pattern. It's reacting just like it. So then that's why I went and talked to the tournament director. And then I pulled up some old emails and I went, it is the old pattern. Would you go get your reactive ball?
And I did.
I said, I knew it. I can see it.
I did.
Yeah.
Our resident pro.
Exactly. That look on your face, that was the look on my face.
Our house pro says throw better. That's all.
I didn't expect that at the end of that story. I just didn't expect it.
No, that's a curveball. Literally. Like that's
awesome. That's awesome.
Listen, when you make a move and you throw it questionable, this is the rule. And you get 6 on one side of the head pin. And then you make a logical move and you get 6 on the other side of the head pin. Whatever you're doing is not close. Just saying.
Brandon, you got to read and recognize that. Come on, man. What are you doing, kid?
I didn't think it was horrible, but it worked in the
really?
Center, it worked in some other bowling centers. I'm like,
and of course he falls for the tees with the urethane. And you said in practice, you went pack every shot in practice.
Yeah,
you fell for the tees on the wrong pattern, which was the right pattern, which was still the wrong pattern.
It was awesome.
I mean, I could throw it left in practice, and I could get it up the lane.
When we figured out what really happened, I'm in the back cracking up laughing. I'm like, are we a bunch of dumbasses or what?
That is such a great.
That may be one of the best stories in the history of this show. That's literally
the wrong pattern. Yep,
that's so good.
And then he's arguing with me. He's getting, he's got the 6-6-6-6 thing going. He's arguing with me. I'm like, tell me you're ringing 7 solid 6 pin, No,
right. Church.
6 over here, 6 over there. No. It's on me.
Church, bucket, 6 count. All right.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
we had a good look.
It's a good thing you're good looking, Brandon.
So tell me, like, going back to the completely non-technical aspect of your game, Brandon. Like, here's an actually like a non-technical question because I'm curious now because I watch you bowl just like everybody else, and I'm just an absolute awe when I watch you bowl.
It's true.
Target. A lot of people ask me this, like, they'll say to me, John, what do you look at? And I say to them, like, truthfully, I don't really know. Because typically, I basically on most patterns, I want the ball to be around 8-9 at the rangefinder. So when I'm aiming at the start of my approach, I'll look at 8-9 down lane at the rangefinder. And with each step I take to the approach, my eyes kind of meet somewhere in the middle of the lane by the time I'm at the foul line. And I kind of try and throw the ball down that path that I visualized. So when people ask me what I'm looking at, I can't really give them an answer.
So, the funniest part about that question is Justin literally had a conversation with him on Saturday about it. And the conversation, kind of went something like this. Justin knew that I didn't really think about anything when he heard this story. So a bunch of years back, my dad asked me, hey, dude, like, what are you looking at? And I said, I'm not looking at anything. He goes, what do you mean you're not looking at anything? And I said, well, Dad, you never taught me how.
What?
He didn't show me how to look at anything, so I didn't look at anything. And as soon as he heard that the other day, he was cracking up. So it's so ironic that you bring that up like 3 days later when we just talked about what I look at. But I really I kind of look at the pins first, and I kind of draw a line. And ever since I've gotten here, I will admit it. Dell tells me all the time that I need to have a focal point down the lane. And the first year I was here, I said, that's the craziest concept I've ever thought about. But now, when I think about it, he's actually got a pretty good point. So I usually try to draw a line from where, if I had a straight ball, like where I want to see my ball, like what shape I want to see. And then I usually, depending on what pattern I bowl on, it will depend on how close to the foul line I look or a little bit further down the lane. So
about as technical as I get with him, I pleaded with him one time last year, and I said, look, it's really going to help you with your angle control. And I said, with all the speed you have and all this power, I said, when the lanes get hard, this is going to help you front to back and side to side. I said, so all I want you to do, this is as technical as I'm going to get.
See what Chuck's saying?
you don't have to look at anything.
Right? I said, do me a favor, either aim outside the 7-pin, at the 7-pin, the gap of the 4-7, the 4-pin, or I said probably the shallowest you need to be is the gap of the 3-6. I said, if you just do that, and then we agree upon somewhere going to slide somewhere in this right area, we're good. And that's as technical as I get with them. Or I'll say, dude, can you just slow it down just a little bit? Or can you take 3 boards of hook off the ball? Now, I don't tell him how to do it. He does it his own way. But it's really about just managing the shape and making sure he's in the right zone.
I feel like when I bowl on shorter stuff, I look further, like closer to the foul line. And when I bowl on a little bit longer pattern, I look a little bit further down the lane. It's just like a feel thing, kind of like it really, like, I'll put it in the most simplest terms. If I wake up on the right side of the bed, I'm probably looking a little bit closer to me. And if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, I'm probably looking a little bit further down the lane. I mean, it's just it's kind of whatever in the moment, however.
The bowler in me, JP, the bowler in me, is so aggravated because I used to look at freaking cracks. Well, I'm hitting 10, guys. I'm hitting 10 and a half.
Parker's one of the most accurate bowlers.
Yeah, I mean, as a bowler, it was like, for me, when I hear that, I'm like, and he would, when I was really good, like, he would kick my ass. That's so aggravating. Like, I was never as good as he is right now.
Neither was I.
Nobody
ever. At any point in even when I was really, really good in my early teens, I was never like that. But it's crazy because, ironically, I'm not really that technical either, but I do something very similar to what Brandon does, and it's actually kind of making me breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, because like when I would have Parker and I would watch Parker on when Brunswick would conduct, or the PBA would conduct the accuracy tests, and Parker was always within a quarter of an inch, 30 shots at the arrows every single time. How many times has my dad walked out past the arrows, faced the pins, and given Parker a board on both sides of the inside of his ankles? I think he's tapped him in 40 years. I mean, to think of it like that, and then now kind of like, but Del, let me ask you this. Is the way the game is kind of molding this generation to not necessarily have to paint boards? Is it?
Well, it's not about that. So I think, in fairness, and I've done a lot of, as my wife would say, are you watching that stupid stuff on YouTube? I study a lot, and I study like biomechanics and, psychology and how the body moves. And I study a lot of stuff that's coming out of other sports because they have millions and billions of dollars to figure stuff out. And there's stuff that we can use in bowling. So that's how I kind of spend my time. But I will tell you that I think a lot of the original concepts that we learned were incorrect. They were just incorrect concepts. There were better concepts. So bowling is a field sport. It's just like pitching a baseball. There's a real art to it. And at the same time, it's all about scoring. So as the environment has changed, from wood to synthetic, lane machines, more oil, different oils, track flare, all that stuff, we've learned more. Bowlers have taught us that, like, there's a different way you can do this. You can approach it. And so, and that's the beauty and the kind of challenge working with a guy like that, because I don't want to screw that up. I want to add to what he's doing, right? So the game now is all about angles and shapes. right? It's not about what you're hitting at 15 feet. It's about, do you match your speed, your rotations and tilts in this part of the lane and create the shape that opens up the wedge from the back of the pattern to the pocket. Now, how you do that is the way you do it, right? And so, and now versatility has never been more important at the highest level than ever, because you have angles and shapes and you have more oil in the lane and more transition in the history of the game. You can be a one-trick pony, but you better hope that your trick shows up a lot. But the best of the best, the guys that, you know, the EJs and the Belmos and the Simos and those guys, they can win from everywhere.
Yes.
And unfortunately, one of the keys that shows up is if you watch Specto, you can really appreciate, like, back when I bowled, you know, the guys that were straighter were, they're more accurate than the quote unquote crankers. Belmos is every bit as accurate as Walter Ray. Every freaking bit. Just as, you know, when you talk about what you have to be accurate at, which is angles, he is every bit as accurate. And he's 3 miles an hour faster, 250 RPMs more, and he's more versatile because he can win all the way across. And what I mean by that, it's not just changing balls and changing angles. In order to keep that wedge open, you have to change speeds, axis rotation, tilts, and rev rates. You have to change all of those combinations to keep the wedge as wide as possible. And I just wish there was a way where golf can recognize that, like, the average 10 handicapper or 5 handicapper, which is a really good golfer, if he played where they play at the US Open, they wouldn't break 100.
No chance.
Unfortunately, and golfers know that, right? How good the best in the world are. The average person has no idea how good our players are at the highest levels.
That's very true.
And so the skill required is different today. So you can't just focus at the arrow. You have an angle and a shape that has to be attached to that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm taking my notes.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's
this week in league now.
We tease him all about time about some of the adjustments he makes. There was one last year where he goes, "What do you think I should do off that shot?" I said, "You know, I think you'd make a 2-1." I try to keep it like, you know, for 2-1 for him. Me and Charles tease him all the time. That's like moving us 2 arrows and you know.
Right.
And so he comes back and the next shot, he just beautiful, just dead lace it, would have knocked down 1,000,000. And I give him a high five. He comes back and he looks at me and he grins. And I'm like, oh, this is whatever he's going to say is not good. He goes, don't be mad at me. You're not going to like this. I go, what? I go, so you're supposed to move 2 and 1 right? He moved 1 left and lofted it more.
I got up there. I moved the 2 and 1, and it didn't feel right. So I went back to where I was, and I moved 1 left, and I
started laughing. I go, that's awesome. Like I could never do that, and nor would I have ever thought about doing it that way. But
maybe not knowing. As ignorance is bliss, right? Like not knowing everything that he's supposed to be doing, and just like he says, just doing it on feel.
Well, think about it, right? So think about
brilliant.
it. What did he do? He went over the friction spot.
Yeah.
He threw it harder.
Yep.
And he instinctively changed his release characteristics without trying. And the ball still ended up between 14.5 and 19 and 60 feet. Who cares?
Smart. Yeah. Who cares? Right. Yeah. 100%. That's so good. Brandon, you're a Terminator. You're a cyborg Terminator. I'm telling you. You really are. Like, you're cold-blooded, dude.
Whatever it takes.
Right?
Whatever it takes. Yeah.
So there's somebody wants to know, they heard a story on Beef and Barnsey. Is it true that Dell has a martial arts background and used his skills to fight off a would-be robber in Thailand?
The martial arts parts is not correct, but yes, I did. I went to Thailand and I was at I served on the board, the international bowling board for their technical committee, and I went. They were the world champ. I think it was the world championships were there, and we had I was on Neil Stremmel's staff when he was actually head of that committee, and I was going home, and I jumped in a cab. It was right up front where they had the normal business, and long story short, I got mugged and I took the guy out, and
nice.
I don't know how I got home, and the guy had a knife to my throat, and
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. Tim. Oh, what's Tim's last name? Timmy from Storm. Tim Mack. So Timmy Mack heard of course, he has a lot of friends over there, right?
Yeah.
So about
That's
2
true.
years later, I see Tim Mack somewhere. Give him a hug. Hey, buddy, how's it going? He goes, there's 3 or 4 people standing around. He goes, he's Batman. Now, I'm telling you, you know how many people I told? I told my wife and I told John Davis. That's the only 2 people I told. I swear to God. I didn't want anybody to know. I didn't care. I was just happy to get home and see my wife again.
Sure.
You know? And so Tim Mack, he says, he's Batman. And I don't know what I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm tall. I got a big whatever. I got a big nose. What are you talking about? He goes, I have a lot of friends in Thailand. He goes, you know what they did to that guy? I go, did they find him? I thought I crushed his windpipe. He goes, yeah, they found him. And he goes, I have a really good friend over there, and he's still in jail.
Wow.
I didn't know that. I got out of there. Took the car, stole the cab, took the car to the police station and got an escort back to the hotel. And I got on the plane and went home back to I told John Davis and I told my wife.
That's so funny.
And that you're Batman.
The word got around to Thailand that you're like Bruce Lee and like Batman. It's so good. I mean, you know, like one person tells another, and by the end of the story,
it wasn't a big deal, dude. The guy in the cab was about 4'5".
Oh, that's so good. I love stories.
We're learning more and more about this.
James Campbell wants to know, Dell, how many bowling balls
Just talking about him
were in your van back in the day?
James, I just pointed out on the show, your mom and dad were in the back when they showed the introduction. I said, hey, do you know James Campbell? And he goes, yeah, the guy from Tennessee. I go, yeah. I said, his mom and dad were my sponsors. He went, oh, no kidding. Probably in the neighborhood of 60.
Wow.
Exactly. And I knew exactly where everyone was, and I knew exactly what static weight was in every one of them. How sick is that?
That's disgusting.
That's too technical for me.
Right, yeah. I mean,
that's all we had to go on back in the day was, finger,
Sure.
side, thumb, top, bottom. That was it.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. We have talked about John Janowitz so much on this show. He's a multi-time guest. Obviously, he works with you at Kegel. How do you describe it? Like, I think he's a bowling savant. Like, he's just a genius. How does his brain work when it comes to bowling? Because I mean, it's a beautiful thing to watch and listen to when he's ever on the show. Like, he has a beautiful mind.
The most organized, prepared player I've ever met. The person that would rank next to him would be Mabel Cummins. And so we just did I've worked only with one. I've helped change his grip a couple times as he's gotten older. His hand's gotten a little bit more stiffer, so we've had to change a few things as he's gotten older. But the main thing I've worked with John is his ball placement. So if you see what he does now, he holds that ball down. He tends to get his ball placement to the right, and the ball gets a little bit behind him, and it forces him to come over the top. Now, when we say a little bit, I'm talking about a little bit. But at his level, one more flat 10 a game times 6 games is a big deal.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So I just asked John last week or week before. We had a camp, and the camp was power and versatility. So I had this idea, and I'll take credit for it. It was like, how cool would it be to get in the mind of the most smartest ball reaction guy, the #1 senior player in the world, who's also the most technical guy that worked for Kegel for 27 years, right? That knows both ends of the game as an athlete and the game as the oil pattern guy.
Yeah.
And so what we did is for 3 hours, he went across. I had set up 4 patterns, and then in front of everybody, you were able to get into the mind of John Janowitz, and this is how he's going to attack this lane. And I didn't know he was going to do this. Dude, he had 8 balls on every pair. 8 different balls. And he had different surfaces. So he was announcing, as he's bowling. So think about getting a playing lesson.
Is it just me or are we losing his audio, Rob?
Think about a playing lesson with Tiger Woods on the golf course, and he's telling you what he's doing and how he's doing it. And the people were in awe, guys. I took 2 pages of notes myself. It was brilliant. So to me, he's kept himself in shape. Number one, this is a big one. Probably 35 years. He goes to the gym every morning. And then, to me, he's the most prepared person for anything I've ever been. Like I said, Mabel ranks right up there. He's just prepared for everything.
It's amazing. We've had him on again, several times, and just listening to how he breaks down every situation. It's a masterclass. Like, he really is. He's so brilliant. It's always fun listening to him. And I mean, he talked about stuff. I mean, you think Brandon doesn't know anything? I know even less than Brandon. I have no idea what he's talking about, but it sounds good to me. And
it sounds good.
Sounds perfect. I'm sure that's exactly right, John. That's exactly what I would have done.
I will tell you so exactly, and I'm very blessed to see him all the time now. But the last years I've gotten to pick his brain a few times. I will tell you exactly how he comes on the show is exactly how he is in person every single day.
Yeah,
every not a single day will pass by, and if you see him and you ask him a question, he will answer it to a T with definition after definition.
Yeah,
explain it to a T.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah,
Brandon, Dell, just letting you guys know, every once in a while in the last 5 or 6 minutes, your audio's cutting out a little bit. So I'm not sure. A couple people just messaged me about it, and I'm noticing it too. But I will add to that too from personal experience with JJ that, like you said, he's one of the very few people in the world. Fortunately, a couple of the other ones I have intimate relationships with. Your dad is one of them. He's just the most genuine person, and nobody ever has anything but the most beautiful things to say about JJ, whether it's talking about food, life, bowling, working out, whatever it may be. So, I mean, he's one of our favorite people, hands down. I mean, he's one of the good guys, and you love to see somebody that gives that much to the sport be as successful as he is right now. So,
yeah, it's funny you say that. So me and my buddy were actually watching JJ bowl. He just finished the World Senior Championships in Reno. Right before I went over to dinner, we were watching him bowl against Barnes in the finals of the Masters. And for those of you that don't know, they take your all-event score and you get placed in a top 24 bracket. And it's a 2 out of 3. You win your match, you move on. You lose, obviously you're eliminated. And the last 2 people left were Chris Barnes and JJ. And we were watching, and the match is going back and forth. JJ won the first game about 260. Barnes wins the next game 240. And they're going back and forth, and it comes down to the 10th frame of game 3. And, my buddy looks at me and goes, "Do you think there's anybody in the world that doesn't like JJ?" And I said, "No. And the only way they would say yes is because they don't like him winning all the time."
That's true.
That would be it. Because he's so down to earth and he's so explanatory on everything that you could ask for.
Yep.
And he's just he wouldn't kill a fly. I mean, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my whole entire life.
Like, next to your dad, like, maybe the nicest guy like ever. And no disrespect to anybody else. I mean,
yeah.
No, I'm with you there, Rob.
Yeah, it's just crazy. You're right. He wouldn't hurt a fly. Like, he wouldn't even think of it, right? Like, if he did, he would tell you exactly how he'd do it, and he'd break it down. And so I do want to hear the story about Johnny's dad, Dal, that you were going to tell. You mentioned earlier.
So we were at the Firestone the second time I got to play in '88. And it was early in the Firestone, and there used to be a fountain out in the middle in the entrance. And my wife, Dawn, who's listening, goes farther back with Johnny Petraglia than I do. and they knew each other because Dawn used to bowl Wassas back in the day, and she used to follow the tour, and she was really good friends with all the Webbers, really good friends with all the Berardis, and Dave Davis and Joanne Davis. She knew everybody before I even met her. So we're sitting there BSing, and my second year at the Firestone, and Johnny's telling stories. What better than having Johnny tell stories? And we were talking about shot maker. So shot maker in my day was if somebody says, "Hey, this guy's a great shot maker," was a heck of a compliment back in the day, right? And I considered myself like that. Like I didn't throw I could throw knuckleballs, but I threw more ball than most. I was kind of in the middle for my era. And we were talking about shot makers, and he was talking about Schlegel, and he was talking about Ritker and a couple other legendary people. And he said, Del, when you figure it out, you repeat shots, and you throw as good a shot maker as I've ever seen.
Wow.
Now, Dawn is standing there, and I went, I'm waiting for the punchline. You know what I mean?
Right.
He goes, he says, sometimes it takes you a while to figure it out, but when you figure it out, you repeat as good as anybody I've ever seen. What do I say? Yeah. And I have never forgotten that. Now, he may not remember it. He may swear he never said it, but it was just kind of wow, you really, you come about your dad knows the game.
Sure, I'll remember that.
Wow, And another time, when I started designing balls at AMF, I designed a ball called the Bullwhip. Okay, and it was Pearl Ball of the Year by BTM, and Dick Weber, who I did 2 videos with, who was such an awesome person. All he did was, when we made videos, all he would do was try to make me mess up my lines. That was his role, mess up Del's lines. And so he would just fly out with his shoes and a towel, and then he would go by the AMF booth and just drill whatever we wanted him to drill, and then he would bowl his 9 games, right? Well, the shot was way left that year, and as you know, Dick at that time was probably 67, 68 years old. He shoots like 1980.
Oh my God.
Right? And so he calls me, and I used to call him Don Carter to bust his stones a little bit. I'm like, "Hey, Don, how?" He goes, he used to go, "Del, Dick Weber here." I go, "Don, how the hell's it going? How you bending your elbow?" And I used to screw with him. And he goes, "Listen, I really want to talk to you about something seriously." And I said, "What?" He goes, "In all my years of bowling, the Bullwhip is the best ball I have ever thrown in my life. Now, it's the second ball I ever designed for AMF. Now, he's God to me." And I'm thinking, oh, he's kidding. Or he knew I just got this promotion a year ago. He's being kind. He's like giving me confidence, right? We had not done the ad yet for the ball. And we didn't know, we had a couple of concepts, and my boss and I didn't like any of them. I go, "Jim, stop the presses. I got the concept for the marketing piece." Dick Weber says. So that's another moment between Johnny Petraglia, the 2 of the biggest icons in history, of things that they have said about me that I have never forgotten.
And if you never accomplished anything else, that alone would have been worth it.
Oh, yeah, I'm done. I'm good. Hey, let's go to Key West. I'm good. Give me a couple of margaritas. We're good.
And that shows you how much Johnny Sr. paid attention to everybody and everything. He was so self-aware that he had to know what everybody was doing so he could stay on his game as well. But the fact that he knew about you and watched you and gave you the compliment, that's like literally.
And that was like how I felt about it. I'm glad you said, because I'm like, why are you watching me?
Right. Yeah.
I got 2 little PBA titles here. These, I'm just kind of a scrub on tour.
It's 2 more than a lot of people even dream of, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's watching out for the young guns.
So, and I loved when guys like Johnny and Dick, and again, we just spent an afternoon with Bo Burt, and I love when they tell those stories.
I wish I could talk to Bo. Bo was the voice, obviously the voice of a lot of our childhood. Brandon, that's
9
his
Eagles.
childhood is Rob
A
Stone.
little bit before mine.
9
Yeah,
Eagles.
no, Rob Stone is your voice, but
Yeah.
Yeah, when Chris is on the Hall of Fame, and what they did was they gave him 50 pins to sign, and they would sell the pins, and it all went to charity. So the pin was memorable. It had Bo when Bo won the Midas Open. It had him running out on one. That was the picture.
Yep.
And on the back, it had the caption of what Bo did in his career. And so I say to Bo, this is true. This is what happened. I got the pin. I haven't read it. And I'm handing him the pin. Shark Train and I've got this thing going that he gets the box, gives me the pin. I unbox the pin. I hand it to Bo. He signs it. Chris covers it up so we don't ruin the signature. We put it back in the box, and then we got to put it back in the trunk. So we got this system going. And I say to Bo, about the 4th or 5th pin, I said, how many Eagles did you win? I know you won a ton. He said, Del, did you read the pin? I turn the pin over, and it says something to the effect of the most prolific bowler in USBC history. He's won more Eagles than anybody. He's won 9 Eagles. And then Bo interrupts me and says, yeah, if they had all events, I'd have won 12. And he's the only one that has won multiple twice.
Wow.
That's absolutely insane.
And I think he still has the all-time high average, or did, for like 30 years or something.
I think people underestimate how good he actually was because a lot of them only knew him as a commentator. He was lights out for a long time.
Dude,
The stories he was talking about pot games back in the day and how
I can
much money
imagine.
he made was stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
He feared nobody, and he was good.
He's so good.
You don't win 17 times on the national tour, on the regular tour. You don't make TV shows in your 50s like he did in Long Island in '94 if you ain't something special.
You remember, and most of that was part after he got the job with ABC. He said, Del, I bowled less than half the tournaments.
True. Yeah.
So,
man,
crazy.
I got to bowl with him in a pro-am at Bradley Bowl, and it was one of the highlights of my career as a kid. And he was so kind to everybody. Always nice. Always stopped to sign an autograph. Just a really, really good dude. And again, another bowling genius. Listening to him break down stuff on the show is just, I love Randy. Randy couldn't hold Bo's jock when it comes to that kind of talent. I'm just sorry, Randy.
Love you, Randy.
Yeah, love you, Randy. But,
yeah. Unfortunately, I do have to go. I actually have somewhere to be, Del and Brandon, and I alerted Rob of this. I'm sorry I didn't let you guys know at the top of the show, but I do have 2 things that I want to say real quick. Actually, I'm going to say 3 things. I'll keep it quick. Number 1, this has been so enlightening for me, such a positive show. I am so happy to have both of you on. Brandon, obviously, I love you like a brother. Del, just conversing with you, I actually feel like not only a better human being, but a smarter human being. So I can't wait.
Happens every day for me. Happens every day for me.
There you go.
Thank you.
The second thing I was going to say was, see, Rob, I lost it already.
I know.
Christ. At the top of the show, you had mentioned my favorite bowler of all time, who I'm still not married because of. So if you happen to run into Tammy Turner anytime soon, tell her I'm still waiting.
Okay, so she'll be at the training center with Kathy Lizzie on November the 20th. Kathy's bringing her daughter in for me to look at, and she's bringing Tammy Turner.
You just let her know it's been 25 years. I still watch every hairstyle, the bow in the hair, the light blonde, every ball company, it doesn't matter. And
make it happen, Del.
I think it was 2009 and 10 at the World Series when Simonelli lost to Duke. I remember her working out a ball in the locker room and just being like this. Oh my God, I'm old enough to at least ask her on a date, and I can't because she's married. So at least tell Tammy Turner her biggest fan is still waiting.
So good.
And,
by the way, Bradley Bowl, best milkshakes in
absolutely, you're absolutely
Windsor
right.
Lock, best milkshakes on tour.
Don, thank you. I will certainly do that. But no, guys, genuinely, I'm sorry that I have to go quickly. And Rob, take care of these gentlemen for the rest of the show.
Of course I will.
I have some very important personal matter to go tend to. Brandon, Dell, absolutely love you guys. Dell, thank you for the stories. Brandon, again, thank you for the friendship. And keep being the field player that moves left when your awesome coach tells you to move right. And I'm wrong.
Just got to do what you got to do sometimes, you know?
That's right. That's right.
Heck yeah.
Love you, JP. Appreciate you, brother.
Love you guys. Take care.
Great seeing you, man. To give your dad a hug.
Can I?
Yeah, so I grew up in Connecticut. So Bradley Bowl was my home center. I bowled leagues there, JBTs, and now it's one of those entertainment complexes. They sold out after Red Burnham passed away, Mrs. Jarvis passed away, and they sold to a company in Vermont or New Hampshire, I believe, and they have. I think they have like 3 VIP lanes now. Like one of the mainstays on the tour. So many good players. The best came through there. I hate seeing when bowling centers like that end up just going by the wayside. It's just
the fans were so awesome there too. I made the show there in the Firestone back to back, and I'm a big milkshake guy. And Brandon loves to go to tropical smoothie. So like he doesn't really have to twist my arm too bad because I still love milkshakes. And but I'm telling you, I would have when I bowled tour there 4 a day.
Wow.
And they made them with real ice cream, and they had the metal thing.
Yeah.
That you made a mold with. And the people behind this, in there, they were always so nice.
Pretty sure that's what I think Bob Burnham owned and ran the snack bar. Red was the manager, and their son JR was the pro shop guy back then. But they had really good food too. Great chili cheeseburger too.
Oh yeah, and they treated the players incredible.
It was fun. As a kid, my mom worked there as well. So when the tour came in, I'd be back in the boiler room, like slave labor, like 12 years old, hand cleaning the plastic telescores because obviously they didn't have,
of course,
electronic scoring back then. So they had plastic sheets with everyone's name on it, and when they would write every score on it, so they had stacks and stacks of those. And I'd be back there with cleaning solution, just like cleaning all of them. Like that's one of my.
Brandon would have actually had to add stuff up.
I know how to keep score. I do.
You do? Okay. All right. Well,
way before my time.
That's good. But that's how old school
I used to go down and watch the scratch leagues as a kid because we idolized back then all the local bowlers. They were on local TV, they were on the newspapers, and you had to find somebody other than what you saw on television to emulate. And I would keep score for the scratch league because you had to keep your own score, and I would actually be able to keep score on 2 pairs at one time, and they would flip me quarters.
Wow, that's cool.
And that's how I originally paid for my bowling obsession. Practice a bowl. When I started, games were 50 cents a game and 2 cents for tax, and you got to bowl 2. You got to pay for 2 and bowl 3 on Tuesdays and Thursdays if you were a member of the Lantana Lanes Club.
Face right
Tuesdays
now.
and Thursdays were a big deal for a kid.
Incredible.
39-cent cheeseburgers at McDonald's too.
There you go.
No, I mean it is keeping score is definitely difficult because nowadays when you watch telecasts, they usually only show a couple of frames. So most people don't even know how to keep score, or even know how the system works.
Well, and you can't build the fence anymore in a house. Remember when you had a couple of opens in a row and the guy would come by and go, "Give me a fence."
Yep.
Put the fence in, and then you would keep the marks down at the bottom.
Right. That's true.
And if you got less than 5, I think it was -1.
Yeah.
One of the worst things is obviously, mom and dad, they taught us how to keep score really early on. Keeping score is quite possibly one of the most important factors when it goes to score and, bowling and everything like that. But we were at Nationals last year, and a kid on my team asked me, hey, is the game over? I was like, do me a favor. Just get up. Just make a good shot. I don't care if it strikes or not. Just get up and make a good shot. And he was like, no, is the game over? And I was like, you seriously don't know? It was already shut out. He goes, no, I have no idea. I don't know how to keep score.
Wow.
So he was a sophomore in college, and he didn't know how to keep score. And I was like, dude, we got to have a lesson when we get back. You got to know when you need one. if we can get that,
Exactly.
or if the game's over,
Right. That's
but,
funny.
I know
Well,
how to keep score,
Hold
but
on.
I will tell you, my freshman year, I bowled the Masters.
Yeah.
And I was bowling Kyle Sherman, and I was down by 41 going into the third game. And all I remember is I was down by 40. I didn't remember the one.
Oh, no.
I got up in the 10th. He went double 9 for, I don't know, like 626 or something like that. And I had whatever I had, like 248, and I was already shut out by 1. But he bowled 208, and I had 248. So I'm like, if I just throw all 3 in the 10th, we tie. I get up, I throw all 3 in the 10th, show no emotion. I get ready, go back, getting ready for the roll off. Shakes my hand, said, "Nice match." I look up at the score. I lost by 1. And
man.
I was more embarrassed that I didn't know the score than anything else. And just imagine if I would have like screamed or showed emotion when I threw all 3 in the 10th, realizing that I just lost by 1. So
running it out, slapping it out.
Yeah, people are like, dude, like, why is he taking so much time? And I had no idea. I thought I needed all 3 in the 10th to tie. And unfortunately, I needed all 3 in the 10th to lose by 1.
Oh, man, that's brutal.
Yep, but you live and you learn.
No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Don't tell your dad that story, though. Cause...
Oh, well, he was right behind me when
okay, well, too late. All right, never mind.
Yeah.
Hey, I saw Charlie Tapp chimed in, my good friend.
He did. He said the counter guys love to bet highlight, too. Man, I remember highlight. That's that was a fun sport to watch, actually. We had one in Hartford, too.
Charlie's the best.
He is. Jay Pintes says, working off of Brandon's point of bowlers being clueless. Del, how many guys come through the training facility that are just clueless, but egos are massive from house walls? That's a good question. The house shot makes people think that they're indestructible.
I get one of those guys a year.
Really? That's it.
So think about it. People are investing a lot of time and money to come to Kegel. So it's become, the training center's become like almost a vacation destination where I've had people say, I've saved up money for 2 years to come here. This is a big deal. And so, so people are they have a little fear. They're a little apprehensive. So they want to get better, but they don't want to get worse. Sometimes they're a little bit afraid of change and they don't know if they can do the change. They think that maybe we're going to reconstruct them or something.
Yeah.
But I would say once a year I get that guy. And he wants to show me how good he is and how little I know and how much he knows. And it always ends up going the same way. I love YouTube. And so when he's telling me that good bowlers do this and this and this, and I'm like, well, let's just look up. I've got 2,500 videos of the best players of the last 30 years. And I go, then let's look at YouTube. Let's see what the great players do. And then if it continues, and I'm like, okay, hey, dude, what do you want to work on?
Yeah.
I here's what I think you need to work on. Here's why you need to work on it. I can quantify it. But then I just, fortunately, I only get one a year. Everybody else, man, they just are sponges and they just want to get better. And golf keeps me humble as a coach because golf is freaking hard.
Yeah, it is.
Right. And you can shoot 78 one day and you can't find the ball the next. And so with that said, what I think is easy for the average person who bowls 3 games, maybe 6 games a week, and maybe once a month, they'll put an hour and a half in on a Sunday when it's $15 for 3 hours. And they just, you know what, they want to get better. I've had many people come in and say, you know what? And they write it on their paper. I'm tired of sucking.
Right.
And I said, let me guess, you're the worst player on your team. You're tired of being teased. And you're so frustrated that this is your last ditch effort. And I've looked at all the videos. I've gone to 3 or 4 coaches. I'm even more confused now. I don't know who to listen to. And it's not fun anymore. I'll tell you what, 60% of those people fall in that category.
Right.
Yeah. They're just so overwhelmed. And as I've learned coaching techniques by studying it, the simpler I keep it, the more effective I am.
That's what I'm saying.
See,
I knew that's what he's going to say.
That's what I'm saying. Yep.
Right. But I do get that guy once a year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the house shot has made guys think that they are unbeatable. And then they go out and bowl in Reno and they get their tails kicked in. So, I mean, it's just, it has the house shot, I don't want to say ruin the game. I mean, it's always been around, but it just seems like honor scores nowadays are through the roof to where back in the day, I mean, you look at the stats from before USBC when it was ABC. Not many people were throwing 300s and 800s, and it's.
Well, I think the stats are. I think I looked this up a while ago. I think it was 10.5 million league bowlers at the peak.
Yep.
And about 2,000 honor scores. So that would be 298, 299, 300, 800, and forget about 900.
Sure.
And so if you look at the ratio, now it's approximately 750,000, a million bowlers, whatever you want to believe, and about 60 or 70,000 honor scores. So here's how I describe it to high school recruits that want to come to Weber. It's two completely different games. You have checkers and chess.
Yep.
Both are board games. Both have moves, the way to win and lose, but they don't resemble the same game. So I don't even look at house shot resumes for college bowling. Tell me what you did at Junior Gold. Tell me what you did at Team Masters. Tell me what you did at SYC. If you're from the Northeast, or you bowl DeAndre stuff in Chicago, they keep averages on that stuff. That is more applicable to the link conditions, the environment we're going to see in college. So it's a completely different game. And the conversion charts at USBC are not even close. There's 60, 70 pins a game difference for some people.
Yeah.
So what I say is, remember, and the people that are bowling today, they don't know the old game. So they have no appreciation that 180 average used to be a really good average.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Today, that's, you're a donkey. Well, 180, 185 could bowl on almost any scratch team in the country.
Very true.
So was it, John Davis always says it used to be a game of spares and a game of marks. It wasn't a game of strikes. So, it's more than a 2-beer conversation if you dive into this stuff.
Right.
I have my own feelings about it. And, John's, I was fortunate to live with John for 4 months as my wife was searching out for a house for us. And so I lived with him and I talked to him every night. So when this discussion comes up with the kids can't relate because they don't know the game. And it just makes you like you're old. And you're inflexible,
Yes.
right? Well, you're just saying that because you're old. Well, no, I'm not inflexible, right? I just, I want to bring back 4.57s. I want to bring back 5.7s. I want to bring back when you squeeze and you hang in the thumb, you 5.7.
Yep.
I want to bring back a legitimate flat 10. And so because the balls are so strong and the back ends are stripped, you don't get penalized for squeezing it as much.
True.
Right. So I appreciate that. That's why I watch all the majors, because of the pressure.
Yeah.
So it's just a different game. So what they call sport bowling today, I say to people, when I grew up, there was oil all the way across the lane. Call it whatever you want.
Sure.
Today, there's oils from 10 to 10 in a league. They call this sport bowling. To me, that was regular bowling. Right. So it's two completely different products. And if we separate them like that, then I tend to be a little bit better with it.
See, now I used to think I was bad because I was a career 195 average, but back in the day, like you said, that would have
been great.
That was, yeah. So now I really want to get on a house shot.
Here's how golfers know this, right? So in golf, there is, if you hit the ball a certain distance and you have a certain handicap, you're only supposed to be playing golf from certain yardages.
Right.
And here's what golfers know. That, to me, like in my club, from the gold tees, from 6,000 yards, I'm scratch. For the black tees, I'm a 3. If I go to Southern Dunes, where Ruben and I and Randy used to play all the time, and we play from the blue tees, I'm a 7 or an 8. And if I play where they play on tour, I'm a 20. Well, now golfers know that. I'm not a scratch golfer. If I play from the ladies' tees, I'm a scratch golfer. But
right.
Right. Bowlers, that's complete disconnect. So it really is the difficulty of the lanes, right? So sometimes it takes 190 to win the tournament. Sometimes it takes 240.
It's true.
So that to me is just two completely different product. Lake Worth Lane misses you. Hopefully PBC puts you in the
Hall
HOA.
of Fame.
Oh, Jeremy Mooney. Yeah, Palm Beach County is pretty special, man. A lot of really great players came out of there. And as I tell the kids, like, Tom Hankey, who is obviously a great bowler and works for Kegel now, he actually did the lanes out at the senior championship. And for Kegel, I'm just so disappointed in guys like that they don't have as much opportunity as I did in all the tournaments that we used to. There used to be tournaments everywhere, bowling centers everywhere.
Sure,
right?
yeah, there used to be.
So that's the only thing for the kids that really have a passion for bowling. There's not a lot of places to go if you don't bowl on tour. There's not a lot of places to go if you go get a job and you still want to compete. It's tough.
No, it is. It is. It sucks. I hate it. Keegan Tasker, who lives all the way over in Australia. When drilling a ball and say you don't know how you want to drill it because you only get one of that ball, what direction would you say is the best direction to go? As I have multiple balls waiting to be done, but I'm not sure how or what I want to drill them.
You want to handle this
you
one?
You want the simple answer or the more in-depth answer? I'll start.
I want to start with this one.
I'll start.
This will be good.
Put the same layout on every single ball. I have a standard layout that I use, pin above the ring, and I put the same layout on every ball. And I'll tell you why. Because, well, I don't really know why, but if you put the same layout on every ball, you know the difference between the ball to the ball to the ball.
That's true.
Now, if you change the layout, you're not going to know. Well, you will know, but you're not going to get as clear of a picture because, well, this ball has a stronger layout compared to this ball, which has a weaker layout. So you could put a strong layout on a super weak ball or a super weak layout on a super strong ball. And are they going to be close? I mean, now I'm just confused.
I'm really proud of that answer. That was a good
It's a very good answer.
So, for me, I put the same layout on every single ball.
I got him to drill a pin down ball, and he liked it.
Really?
I did.
I said, Brandon, just trust me on this. We need a different look. So you don't have to manipulate the ball so much. Just trust me. Just drill one pin down ball.
What he's not telling you is since then, I haven't drilled another pin down ball.
What ball was that? Do you remember?
I do have one. Have one.
What ball is it? Do you remember?
It's a urethane ball. It's a purple black widow, something like that. Yeah. Yep.
So to answer his question, if you look at bowling balls like golf clubs, every ball has a roll. 8 iron, 7 iron, 6 iron. Pretty much the same swing, around the same swing. Sure. And they all go different distances, right? So first, you have to say, what do I want this tool for? Do I want it for short, medium, long? And then what transition do I want? Do I want it on fresh, first, second transition? Where do I want it to fit in what I already have? So every ball is a tool, right? And so the bowling ball itself, the cover and the core has a certain slot it fits in, and then the layout is the fine tuning of the slot and the surface. But you have to decide what. I got a text message from one of his teammates this afternoon. He says, hey, I just bought a ball X on the internet and I want it to be in my tournament arsenal. I said, what do you want it for? He goes, can you give me a layout? I said, what do you want it for? And he wrote, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I said, well, when you decide when you want it for, let me know. About an hour later, he said, I want it on fresh when my purple hammer is out of play. Perfect. Boom, 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 boom. So everything today, bowling balls are expensive.
Yep.
And they have a roll. So look at them as tools. I need a screwdriver. I need a hammer. I need a crescent wrench. And so what do you need it for? And then that layout. And then if you answer that question, that'll give you the layout and the surface.
So, Brandon, I'm going to put you in a spot.
Yeah.
Say something nice about Dell.
Say something nice. All right. Well,
Beer.
we were talking about this at dinner. We actually had a really good conversation at dinner. It was me, Dell, and Charles, and we were talking and
Don.
Yeah, can't forget about Don. But one of the coolest things is the way he coaches is very unique. He has a unique coaching style. It's not like anyone I've ever seen. He's very to the point. Sometimes he may need a little bit of clarification. Sometimes, but I will say he cares more than anyone I've ever seen, and he has so much passion for the game, not only behind the scenes but in front of the scenes as well. And like I said at the beginning of the show, he knows how to win, and that's the one thing that I admire the most is he knows how to win, and he teaches not only his players but the people that he helps coach. He teaches them how to win, and like I said, so he cares and he knows how to win, and that's not one thing; it's two things. But
that's fine.
That's
fine.
what I got. Yeah.
All right, Dell. Same thing. Say something nice about Brandon.
Well, I said this to his mother last year, and I said, every year I kind of, since Randy passed away, it's been tough 3.5 years losing Andre, Randy, and Mo Pinnell. Mo was my mentor, like my second dad. And I lost them all within less than a year, in about a year. It's been tough. And so we've been going through a transition at Kegel. Rick retired. Ruben is now semi-retired. And so it's been a tough 3.5 years in a lot of ways. And so, and I'm at the age where, fortunately, I could have retired a while ago, but I love what I do and I love the company I work for. So every year it's kind of an assessment. Hey, do I want to do this again? Hey, do I want to do this again? And I told Brandon, I told his mother, I said, I want to definitely coach Brandon his senior year. And I said, your son is an incredibly kind person. He's got a really good heart, and I don't want the world to beat that up. And so, he hasn't been around long enough for, he's a celebrity in his own right. He's got, I tease him all the time. He's got like a fan club and stuff wherever we go. Sure. It's kind of fun to watch. But he's a kind of a bigger person, and people have already start to revere him. And a lot of times when you see kids that age that's kind of built like him, he's a super competitive person. They can be really mean, and they can be sarcastic in a bad way. And he's sarcastic, but in a good way. But he's a really good kid, and I mean he cares about people. He cares about what people think, sometimes too much, but he's very kind, and I hope he never loses that, because kind in the world today is a very rare commodity.
I absolutely agree. That's I appreciate both of you for. I know I put you on the spot, but
I get that.
I could see the chemistry between you two and the great rapport that you have, and I like the fact that you can bust each other's balls. And not even think twice about it. Especially, it's just that's a tough thing to do, especially with Dell being so great of a coach and great of a bowler. I like that you can bust his balls and he doesn't care about it. Like that's old school.
Well, I like when you throw in Charles in there, we're having a great time this year.
Yeah,
we're really having a lot of fun, and so I love it when Charles is so good and so knowledgeable. He's my assistant coach, and super sharp, and I love it when I see other people give Brandon the business. Because you got to be a pretty good bowler. You got to have a pretty good resume yourself to be able to. Because you can't bring it if you've never won anything, right?
It's true. Back-to-back under 22 Masters champ.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think Charles brings a different perspective, and he's not a yes man. So he is like the biggest. Like if Dell will say something, he's not afraid to say I disagree. And I think having two people that see it a little bit differently is great. And I think Charles brings a different set of eyes, obviously, but he brings a different perspective as well. And we're 3 tournaments in.
this past weekend didn't go as well as we wanted to, but we still got the job done. We still won both tournaments, but we as a team, as a group, as a core, we know there's a lot of improvements, and we know the potential, and just putting the pieces to the puzzle is going to be key this year. And I'm looking forward to a great year.
We have a fun group this year. We got a lot of super nice people, and they really want to win. It takes a while to I look at a team like a hand of cards. Every year I get a hand of cards.
Yep.
And what cards do I keep? What cards do I discard? And then you don't know what's going to happen all year. So the only upside to having this crazy sport that we go from the first day of school to a week before graduation is that you get a chance to try a lot of stuff. You know?
I mean, throw the wall, see what sticks, right?
And you get a chance to really experiment. You get to experiment lineups. You get to put. I intentionally put pressure on kids to see how they handle it, because when you're facing the end of the season, you're bowling against the best teams in the country, and the alpha from Wichita State, they have big alpha guys come in and they break your line and slap it off in your face.
Right.
And underneath their breath, they tell you ain't anything, and you're going to choke it off. Like, how are you going to deal with that?
Right.
Because I like that. I think I forget who it was. It was, who's the big kid a few years ago that just broke through our line, and we're bowling him in Vegas. It was the kids whose dad was a really good bowler. It was big.
Michael Nape?
No, he bowled for Wichita. Big dude. But anyway, we're bowling them, and we're up like 20, and he makes a split, and he wasn't being disrespectful in any way. Like, he didn't have time to think about it. He ran it out in front of us, slapped it off in our face, and cut right in the middle of the line. And my next guy that was getting up, Nick, was a big dude. I had a guy that was a 300-pounder, and he crapped in his pants.
Was it Nick Summer?
No. But he bowled on that team, and so afterwards, I put my arm around him and I said, "I want you to remember this moment, because the next time it happens, you'll deal with it better." So I saw this person. I can't remember his name now. I saw this person last year or the year before. And I went up and he was an assistant coach on a college team. And I saw him and I said, "Hey, I just want to thank you." He said, "For what?" I said, "You remember what you did in Vegas?" He said, "Yeah, I get it. I didn't mean anything by it." I said, No, it was great. I love the competitiveness spirit, but it also taught my player a lesson. And so the next time something like that happened, he dealt with it better. Yeah. So I'd rather that happen in regular season, so we're prepared for postseason. I love it. I just think when, running it out and there's a line you don't cross, but he didn't cross it, and He wasn't intentionally thinking about it. It was just a moment in time, and he made some freaking crazy split, and my guy went up there and barely kept it on the lane.
I mean, that's old school, right? I mean,
it was awesome.
I love that. How do you feel? Del Picard wants to know, how do you feel about the urethane ruling by USBC? Is that affected?
This is funny. I just had a long conversation with Nick Hoagland. He brought he brings his kids here for me to coach them, and then Kegel and USBC just signed their new agreement, and so he vacations all the time in Disney. So he brings his kids in, and I coach his kids, and we were having a kind of a historical, because he's a big historian of the game, and he interned at Kegel, and he was taught by John Davis. So he has a reverence of fairness, and the lane man's job is impossible. Try to get all styles to play, right? So we had a very interesting discussion about urethane, and I told him, I said, "I like urethane," and I said, "Not for the reasons why you think." I go, "In the history of bowling, there's always been carry down. Always."
Yeah.
Right? And I said, the only defense the lane has now, because if everybody's throwing charcoal with ASIMs, you're going to take a pattern that's flat and you're going to bust a hole in it, and now I'm going to wall the lane up. It's going to get walled right away. And I go, even if you just give 3 people 3 balls per lane, if they semi know what they're doing, and there's better coaching than there was 20 years ago in college bowling, you have former college players that are pretty good at what they're doing. Now, all of a sudden, you got a defined hook spot. Whereas before, as if some guys are throwing urethane, some guys are throwing reactive, there's a combination. Now the moves are much trickier. It's the only defense the lane has. And what's wrong with carry down? There's always been carry down.
Yeah.
Heck, when I was on tour and they started using STP in the oil to get it to hold up all day long, your first move was right in the morning. If you were on A squad, you went right and then went too far, and then you had to start moving back left because of the carry down. So my defense is, I always thought, if like I was the bowling czar, raise the hardness to where you want it to be so that when it softens up 5 points, it's where you want it to be. And that's it.
Yeah.
Right? So I like the fact that there's a mixture of bowling balls going down the lane, because if you just throw urethane, Mo Pinnell did this test in the 90s, and it was published in Bowler's Journal. And he had the same 5 guys in Virginia, I think at Marketplace Lanes, and they threw 5 balls with non-flaring balls and 5 balls with flaring reactive balls, and he graphed them. And they were 2 arrows deeper, and the scores were 30 pins a game higher. So I said to Nick, you get rid of urethane, what are you going to do? Are you going to put 45 mils of oil in the lane? Because that's what it's going to take to keep us off the left gutter.
Yeah.
So the more oil we put on the lane, the bigger the problems. So I'm in a different camp. I just think they should just raise the hardness to whatever they want it to be, so when it softens, it's still whatever it is, it's legal. And I like the fact that, he didn't know this story, but the last year that the O'Keefes were at McKendree, one of my favorite tournaments was the McKendree Baker tournament, because it was the only all Baker tournament we bowled all year. And it was in a center where the surface was as bad as we'll ever play in. And they always sent us the pattern that Monday. And so we got to bowl in the pattern. And I remember he sent us 37 feet, drop brush 35, 21 mils. And my brain went, there will be no oil in the lane. Well, this is not going to hold up.
Right.
But what I forgot was, what did everybody do? They all threw low flaring balls. They all threw urethane, and there was hardly any surface on the ball. It was maybe 3,000, and then everybody went to polish. We never got deeper than 20.
Wow.
On 21 mils bowling in the parking lot.
Yeah. Right.
So more oil is not the answer. So I like combination of those. I just think to solve the illegal problem, or remember, the hardness rules were created with plastic 50, 60 years ago.
Yep.
So should the same hardness rules apply with a completely different technology?
Do you think durometers should not be do you think they should, there has to be some other way. Like, the technology in that sense hasn't really evolved. I mean, shouldn't there be a different way to test? Because I don't think durometers are 100% accurate.
I'm sure there is. Well, one, it's got to be affordable. 2, it's got to be repeatable.
Right.
Right. But I just, I think the fact that USBC now has Earl, and we don't live in the dark ages anymore. I think we have so much knowledge now.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a pocket. As I wrote, I reminded Chad of this. I don't know. My last conversation was over a month ago. And he had some time to kill, and I had a nice hour-and-a-half conversation, just a theoretical, conversation by 2, because I remember Chad when he was an action bowler, right? And so we were talking about urethane, and I said something to the effect of, same thing I'm telling you, that the softness rules shouldn't even apply today. Meaning, but I said also pick an era. So I wrote 20 years ago, I wrote to Steve Wunderlich a 10-year business plan to USBC on how to shrink the pocket and bring back scoring where, remember, bowling par is 200 in bowling.
Right.
When par got north of 200, that's when handicaps didn't work anymore. And I said, so number one, my first idea was to lower the gross weight of the ball. I said, what if Earl determined how big the pocket was? And let's just say it was 13 pounds with reactive balls.
Yeah.
Would anybody care? I said, from a business side, everybody wins. Less SKUs, cheaper to make.
Right.
Nobody goes into too heavy of a ball anymore. RGs are higher. And I said, so think about it. You can't make the pins heavier. You can't take away the pocket from the average person anymore. Those days are gone.
Yeah.
But you can shrink the size of the pocket where you're going to leave a few more 10 pins. But it doesn't feel like you gave it away. So I wrote a paper that would execute over 10 years, and every year you would make a change. I have a copy of it somewhere. So I like urethane. I think you have to choose what is a legal hardness after it softens. But I like combinations of balls that carry down at the same time as burn up oil. I think it's the last defense that the lane has. I really do.
Sorry, do you think there's more to it than just the hardness?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. But USBC knows more.
Mm-hmm.
Now. It's we used to be in the dark ages, and so some of the decisions we've made in the past, we didn't have the whole picture.
Right.
And so I think we do now. I think we know a lot more, and there's some pretty smart people looking at it. And I think you can create a new game that might be better than any other version that we've ever seen. But it's going to take some hard decision making and some, and I think in some ways the games become more complicated for the average person. When
Not
they
Brandon, though.
When they bowl, exactly. When they bowl on something where the oil's all the way across the lane, it is total confusion for the average person.
I get it. Yeah. And that's why I alluded to earlier, I think the house shot has kind of ruined,
It has, because the
game.
moves, remember back in the day when the ball didn't hook, you moved right. And if it hooked too much, you moved left.
Yeah.
Right.
Simple.
So, yes. So on a house shot, when you move right, you hit cement at some point, and then you just move 2 and 1 back to the left, and you're good. On a house shot, if your ball doesn't hook, you don't move right. I mean, on a sport shot, you got to move left. You got to move closer to the end pin.
Yep.
And then you got to know more about moves, meaning the geometry of the moves. Well, the total average person is totally confused. So that's what a lot of my time in my lessons are spent at. Like, I bowl good the first game, and then after that, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
So it's gotten way more complex than it needs to be. Even though the score, it sounds like an oxymoron because the scores are going through the roof, right?
Right.
You get somebody off their spot and they see something they've never seen, it is total chaos.
So are string pins an equalizer to that? Because you have to focus on shot making.
Here's the only thing I'll say about string pins. We can do better for the sport. And here's what I mean by that. The only thing I want knocking down pins is balls and pins. That's it. Call it whatever you want.
Sure.
I don't want any other object other than balls and pins knocking down pins. And I would think that with AI, they could develop a chip that could go into the machine that could sense when a string was going to hit a pin, and then do something in a millisecond so it doesn't happen.
And that could be very well done, be the end result, hopefully.
As a bowler, I'm not a fan of string pins.
Even though you have them at rev rates.
As someone who understands a business and a bowling center, I think string pins are great.
Sure.
But as a bowler, I'm not a huge fan. I think.
Yeah, I get the economics totally. I talked to Fred Borden last year, and I stay in touch with Freddie. He's 84 now.
Wow. Yeah.
Talked to him the other day, and before he sold Stonehenge, he had looked into the economics, and it's about a 4-year payoff. So you can't ignore the business side of it, of course.
Right.
But I'm only because of who I work for, I have to be careful, of course, what I say.
Sure.
There'll be a day where I won't have to. But I get the economics of it. It's just, as a sport, my only comment was we can do better.
USBC has put a lot of money into it. I mean, they've done a lot of testing and a lot of research. I mean, regardless of how we as bowlers feel about it, I still think, and I said this to Brandon last week, you're going to have to evolve or move on, because I think it's going to be the future, and there's not much we can do about it.
Well, hopefully, the human mind will do more to avoid pain than it will ever do to gain pleasure. That's kind of how we're wired. So,
sure.
With that said, when somebody loses a major in front of the world or a gold medal in front of the world because a string pin hits something, and it does it enough times, we'll finally fix the problem. We'll come up with a better mousetrap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with that. Now, if I can jump back real quick, like I said, as a bowler, not a huge fan. As a business kind of guy and perspective and an owner, not myself, but I can see both sides. On the other side, getting away from the bowler, I think string pins are great. Now, if string pins are going to grow the sport and continue to bring more people into the sport, I think that would be great. But like what he said, I think bowling can do better and come up with a different idea to continue to grow the sport. And at the end of the day, that's all we want, is we want to continue to grow the sport, have more money into it, and give out more.
So Brandon can win more.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Well, he's a shot maker, so I mean, he's used to it anyway. No, I mean, I get it, because we mentioned earlier about all the the great centers like Bradley Bowl that are gone, and and if it does save a lot of the mom and pop centers, I absolutely do get it.
Sure.
And obviously they have come a long way since the carnival style strings that they started with. I mean, they are significantly better than what the initial first batch was. So I think it is trending in the right direction. If you talk to Ryan Schaefer and other guys that bowled on them in the regional, they didn't see a huge difference. Of course, you're going to have your outliers, but
it's
catch-22, I guess.
Yeah, it's really just a few pins. I mean,
I'm very confident that as the sport starts to bowl on them more and the public gets to see it, and technology always is evolving, right? I just think, with what AI can do, someone's going to come up with something to where strings don't hit pins anymore.
Yeah. No, I get it. And you're the only person on this show that's ever answered it that way. So
well, I've got, as my wife would say, I got a very unusual mind. I sit around the house and I think about strange things.
That's like George Carlin says, these are the things that I think about when the power goes out. So yeah. So that being said, another question before I let you guys go, and I appreciate you giving us, almost 2 hours. It's fantastic. I was watching old bowling the other day, and I think it was something like the 93 Johnny Petraglia Open or one of those years, maybe 92 or 91. Chris Schenkel was saying there's a big vote on the games in Japan coming up, and we're really close to getting bowling in the Olympics. And obviously that never happened. We had Tom Clark on the show. He said he created the World Series of Bowling to kind of give that Olympic feel and have people from all around the world compete. Del, do you ever think that bowling could get in the Olympics, and what would it take to get it there? Because obviously left side, right side is different. Rev rates are different. Oil breakdown's different. You have to kind of have a fair advantage for every player, typically for every sport that's in the Olympics. What do you think they could do that they haven't thought of yet, possibly?
Well, see, I don't know. Here's what I don't know. I don't know what to believe.
Or is it a money thing? Because there's not enough money around the world like in other sports.
But yeah, I don't know who to believe and what to believe that has come out of past meetings of the people that make the decision on the Olympic Committee on what sports go in and go out. I've heard so many different conflicting stories in my lifetime. And then I've heard, people on our side of the fence have been on the take, and we didn't pay off the right enough people. And then I've heard, well, our sport's not fair because left, right, and crankers and all this, and scoring's confusing. And I'm like, sure. Scoring's confusing.
Breakdancing is in the Olympics.
Like, what are you talking about? Like back in the day when in the 60s, because I used to work for Billy Hardwick, they were icons in social. Like Billy told me he flew in, he was player of the year in 63 and 69. He flew in Frank Sinatra's private jet.
Yeah, they were rock stars. Johnny Petraglia
They
was
were
a rock
unbelievable rock stars. So
yeah.
The things that I've heard are so messed up in my lifetime on why we're not in the Olympics. I don't have a clue. Because I don't know what's behind the scenes. I don't know what I don't know what they would require for us to get into the Olympics. Is it ratings? Is it viewership in, during the competition? What is it? Is it fairness? If they wanted in there bad enough, I'm sure it would be in there. So I really don't know how to answer your question because I've heard so much junk that I don't know what to believe.
How many people are watching, like, shooting discs, right? Like, just
right.
You know what I mean? Like breakdancing and stuff like that. It's like seriously,
or no offense to our friends up north, but what you call it, where you got the
curling,
the thing going down the middle, and the guy's the sweeper guy, and and then they're going really slow, and they're knocking this one over here. It's like playing shuffleboard, right? But you're
pretty much shuffleboard.
You're on the court,
right?
And
exactly.
I'm like, how many people are watching this, and how much money are they making?
That's why I don't think it's a money thing. I've been trying to put my finger on it.
It makes no sense to me. So like I said, I've heard stories that were 180 to each other over the course of probably 40 years, right? And I don't know what to believe, bro. So I don't know.
It's unfortunate because I think the world would benefit to watch something like that. Like, I mean, you can have very exciting matches when it comes to bowling. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's as a lover of the sport, and I still think it's a sport. It's not a hobby. It's one of the most one of the most participated sports there is.
To me, you have to be more knowledgeable today, and you have to have more skill today at the highest level than any other time in history.
It's true.
So.
Yep.
So I just have I just revere our best players. Just the way they, EJ is amazing, and I don't know him.
I don't either, but it's stupid how good he is.
Oh, it's just nuts. And, Chris Barnes was probably the best player in the world for 5-6 years.
Yep.
Would argue that.
Bell had a good 10-year, 12-year run.
And how good that guy is and what he did to the game. And now the two-handed game is evolving to where you're starting to see hybrids of different styles, right? Yeah. As coaches, I'm always evaluating their mechanics and how are they doing it. So it's really cool because it's always evolving. And unfortunately, the regular person we're not transparent enough how good these guys really are.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And again, to Brandon's credit, most people that watch bowling don't understand what Randy is talking about when they talk about break points and oil breakdown and all. Like, if you were to have that in the Olympics, I don't think, again, the scoring might be an issue for somebody to keep up, but two, how do you convey to the people how difficult this actually is? Because to most people, it's just throwing a ball down there and knocking down pins.
It's so hard to the naked eye to see how difficult it is. And the one thing that, I wish the PBA still did was the color oil.
Yes.
Because you can really get an idea of the picture of what they're actually bowling on. You can see where there's more oil, there's less oil. When the oil's darker, gives you a clear picture that there's more oil in the middle. Now, when there's less oil or less oil down the lane, when there's no blue or red or whatever color they want to use, clearly there's no oil there. So your ball is going to hook when it hits that part of the lane.
Yeah.
But like I said, to the naked eye, that gives you a picture of what they're bowling on. When it's clear, it really doesn't give you a clear picture, if that makes sense.
That's what you did there. Yeah.
I didn't do that on purpose, but it just kind of happened that way. But I think that, the plane or the person that watches at home, they don't understand how difficult it is for a professional to navigate and to move and to change hand positions and do this and ball speeds and rotations and all this stuff that I don't worry about ever. But they don't understand how much goes into it because they don't see the oil moving. And obviously the oil is constantly moving all the time, and they don't see it because it's not clear to them. So
I'll tell you how cool it is for me. The last time we had the PBA here in 22, we had the round of 16, the round of 8, their year end before they went to Jupiter for the Final Four. And so I pulled the vice president card out, and I got the seat where I wanted. And the reason why I wanted the seat where I was is I wanted, because I used to tour rep, I wanted to hear the high-level conversations between the players and the reps, and then I wanted to watch their moves. And the pattern they had out allowed the players to have multiple zones to get through. Now, the coolest thing I've ever seen on television, Chris Prather was sliding in the left gutter on fresh, and his launch angle, I still have the numbers from Brent, as Brent was in the truck. He was 4.3 degrees through the front, 6.7 on the back. He struck out in the 10th frame to win his match, and he had to get the ball right of 5. So when we were kids, we used to take star balls and see if we could hook the whole lane and heater on the one board. The star balls were the 8-pounders.
Yep.
Heater on the one board and try to strike. That was kind of games you made up. That's what he was doing. And I'm like, so he's like 17.75 off his hand, about 450, about 20 degrees of tilt. And so through the PBA oil, his focal was on the 4-pin on the other lane. So I got to talk to him afterwards, and I go, dude, that was cool. And he goes, Del, what people don't know, if they allow me to do this every week, I'll be player of the year. It's my favorite way to bowl. I said I would have never guessed it, because if you watch Wichita guys, generally they roll the hell out of the ball.
Yep.
Call it the Wichita roll. So they're really up the back of it. They're very forward. They can do everything, but when I see him play, most of the time they're kind of in front of them. And he's curving the whole freaking lane. And he goes, I love doing this. I'm like, dude, that's when we're goofing around when we're kids.
Right.
Out in the 10th frame to win a match on television.
He's so smooth. I don't know what's happened to him the last several years, but I mean, he's so talented. He's so good. I just.
Yeah. So I still appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'm a big fan of the sport, and especially, I watched a lot. My wife and I will, of course, watch the girls, and we have a lot of former Weber kids that are, and a lot of former kids that I've coached that didn't go to Weber, and I love to watch the majors, and I'm just a big fan of how tough it is to make a living, and it's even tougher now than when we bowled on tour. So.
Oh, with the PTQs, it's stupid. It's such a grind to even get on tour now and make the national events. It's difficult. I was telling Brandon last week, I'm friends with Nate Garcia and Elise Bolton, who bowled down at Kegel as well. And, Nate having to shorten his schedule because he just got tired of the grind and the PTQs and not making it every week. And he's so good, too. And I don't know what it's going to take for him to get to the next level, but it's difficult. The tour is very difficult now. There's so much talent out there, and all these people fighting for 10 spots. I mean, it's hard.
There's Nate, and to Nate's credit, he's just been crazy about being a pro bowler ever since I've known him. And he won't find anybody that just wants to bowl more tournaments. And he just loves to compete.
He'll bowl anything.
It's sad that there's not a place for a guy like that, who's obviously really good, but he's not in the top 10 or 15 in the world, that really has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So,
well, look, I appreciate both of you coming on. I could pick your brain for hours. We'll definitely have to get you on again, Del, and Brandon. You're always welcome here, even though you don't give us very much insight on your game. But it's
I give you what I know. I know a lot, so I'm not giving you a whole lot.
I am thankful that he's a lot more open-minded now, and he'll actually try some stuff, and when you're so talented, and all I have to do is show him one time, and if he has a picture, it's amazing how he can get his body just to do it.
Yeah. That's just natural talent.
The bowler in me is just so jealous, because I could never do that kind of stuff.
It's just a natural talent. You can't coach that. I mean, it's just you're born with it. And he's a bone. I mean, Christ, look at their genes in the family, man. Come on. They're all talented.
Am I allowed to tell a story about him as we finish?
Absolutely.
This is hysterical. So he's, as Charles tells the story, he goes to this tournament here locally, somewhere in Florida. And the tournament director has never heard of him.
Okay.
So he goes, Brandon Bohn, is that Bone? And he's not kidding.
Oh,
Yeah.
true story.
You never heard of him.
Yeah, true story.
And about 20 minutes after he gets there and they have that conversation, half the squad sees him, comes up, and takes all their money out of brackets. And he's like, who is this guy? Half the field just said, forget about it. I'm not getting the brackets. He had no idea who this kid is.
And then he came up to me in like the middle of game 1 and was like, hey, like, I just want to give you props. I've never had someone come into a tournament and so many people come up to the bracket table and say, I want a refund. The best part was I bowled minus that day. And if they would have stayed in brackets, I probably would have put more money into brackets and I would have lost even more money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bone. So that's how Charles and I kid with him.
Yep.
Hey, Bone, you're up.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And that happened. Somebody on Bowl TV, I don't know if it was this year or last year, but they mispronounced Parker's name. I think he called him. And maybe was he? I think it was Parker. I don't know if it was you or Justin were bowling, but yeah, they said, I think it was Parker. Said Parker Bohn, and they just lit that dude up into threads. And like, how do you not know?
This was at the Masters.
Yeah.
This was at the Masters. I was bowling at the Masters last year in Vegas, and
it was you, Brandon Bohn. That's right.
Had a new announcer.
Yep.
And I was on a live stream, and they were talking about me bowling, and I could tell you I was already bowling bad. Like it was, I had the one year that I bowled really good, and then me and Justin were bookend at the standings. He was in second. I think I was second to last. And then this guy's commentating on me, and he said my name wrong, and I'm absolutely flamed in the comments.
That's what it was. That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you for jogging my memory.
Yeah.
I forget shit when I get older, but no, it was a new announcer for Bowl TV. And he got your dad's name right. Like, later on, like, I don't know if somebody corrected him, but I remember him saying, Brandon Bohn.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's see, well, everybody's gonna know your name eventually.
Still happens. It still happens. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. But they will know who you are when the time comes. As we told you before, you have all the talent in the world, and we're looking forward to seeing what you do when you get out of college. But
thank you for having us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. You guys are a riot.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a good time, and we'll definitely keep in touch. We'll have you both on again at some point.
Great.
All righty, sounds good. Well, thank you, and I guess good night.
Good night. We'll see you guys later. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for coming on.
Okay.
All right, guys, that wraps it up for this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. minus Johnny for the last hour. But I finally got some questions to ask because Johnny was just so enthralled with our guests, and it was good to see him back and in tip-top form this week. So we appreciate JP. Unfortunately, Dr. Rocho never showed up, so nobody got interrupted tonight. That's no, we miss Ouch. Ouch is one of the backbones of this show. Too bad Dell never got to experience the full Ocho, but I'm sure he'll be back next week. He just had some stuff to do with the house that came up, unfortunately. But anyway, thank you everybody to the chat. You guys were fantastic tonight. Thank you for all your questions. I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody tonight. But we do appreciate our audience. Last I checked, we were 14 subs away from 1,000 on YouTube. And that's just word of mouth, just having great guests on like Dell and Brandon and all of the other stars from the past and present that we've had on the show. And once we get to 1,000, we have the watch hour requirement already passed. We can start monetizing this show. So all the hard work that I put in, I can get a couple bucks from. So if you guys aren't subbed to the channel, please do so, and tell your friends, get the word around that you love watching Straight Up 5. And next week, I'm not sure who's going to be here. I play this by the seat of my pants as I usually do, but I'm sure we will have somebody, and it'll be another fantastic show. We appreciate everybody. Thanks for Dell and Brandon again for coming on tonight, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great week, guys, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. You can follow the show on Twitter at Straight Up 5 Pod. Follow Johnny Jr. at JPJR07. Follow Rad Rob at Rad Rob Gaming. And follow Dr. Ocho at the Dr. Ocho. Got a question for Johnny? Send your questions to straightup5podcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. right here